this is pretty good. And oh, free command tower inside. Oh, hello. As Secrets of Strixhaven readies itself for enrollment, many Magic the Gathering players ask the question, is there really only one in-universe set left for all of 2026? Really? Come on, bruh, it's only April. But it's true. After Secrets of Strixhaven, while there are many Magic the Gathering sets left for the rest of this long year, 4 in fact, only one of them will be an in-universe set, Reality Fracture. The other 3 are all featuring outside IP from Star Trek to Marvel superheroes to the thankfully Magic adjacent The Hobbit, which hopefully won't suddenly be expanded into 3 full sets, but given the movies, you never know. As I covered previously on this channel, be it 6 or 7 sets a year, it's just unsustainable. Now, Wizards of the Coast has said that it's their goal not to have 7 set years, but it's also been my goal to go to the gym regularly, and I know from personal experience, our goals don't always work out. Nonetheless, it has thankfully been confirmed that 2027 will only have 6 sets, only 6, with an even divide between in-universe and universes beyond properties. So with all that being said, which planes will we revisit? Which outside properties will we advertise in our $7 booster packs? In this video, I will offer my predictions of just what is coming to Magic the Gathering next year, and I gotta say, if you watched my prior prediction video about outside properties, I got a lot of them right, so, you know, I got a decent track record here. But first, do you want to next level your job skills but think you can't learn what it takes to become a software developer? Well, think again. I mean, come on, how many Magic cards have you memorized? What about the interactions between them, the combos that you could pop off with? You know this stuff. Heck, you're probably brewing up hundreds of decks as Secrets of Strixhaven previews come pouring out at you. So you think you can't learn to code? Give me a break. It's probably easier to understand than some of these commander board states. The trick is that something like Magic is easier for you to absorb because it's a game. But thanks to Boot.dev, sponsor of this video, learning to code becomes a game, one you can master as well as Magic. Boot.dev turns learning to code into an RPG-like experience where you earn XP, unlock achievements, and battle it out as you progress on a giant leaderboard. Learn back-end web development from start to finish in Python, SQL, and Go. Did you know the median salary for back-end web developers in the US in 2024 was over $100,000? And programmers often have the option to work remote. Boot.dev teaches you real-life skills by making those skills more accessible because they're acquired like a game. They even just launched the Training Grounds, a place where you can grind infinite challenges to give you as much practice as you need before you forge ahead in your coursework. Best of all content is free to read and watch. A paid membership is just needed to unlock the interactive features like hands-on coding, progress tracking, and game mechanics, but you can go check out Boot.dev today for free, so why the heck don't you? Boot.dev is truly incredible, and I cannot recommend it highly enough to anyone who wants to learn coding but feels daunted by the prospect. Go to Boot.dev today to try out the courses for free right now. Then use my code Tolarian to get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. Thank you, Boot.dev, for sponsoring this video. So what do I think is coming to Magic the Gathering in 2027? Well, let's start with the best, most exciting set I am confident is coming to this game next year. That's right, I know we're going to return to a beloved Magic the Gathering plane. Where do I think we're going back to? Well, there's not really that much left. It's gotta be Alara. Shards of Alara originally released in October of 2008, and though the names of each shard became synonymous with their associated colors, we have not once returned to the plane in the now nearly 20 years since. The lore of the set was a tantalizing convergence of old and, at the time, new Magic lore. Back when planeswalkers were godlike beings, an unknown walker took the mana-rich plane of Alara and split it into 5 distinct planes, each each limited to only 3 colors of mana, and whose inhabitants were expressed and influenced by those colors. Bant, whose primary mana was white supported by green and blue, was a shard of order and honor. Known for its exalted knights and angels, Bant was home to noble legends like Elspeth Tyrell and Rafik of the Many. But the plane was home to a duplicitous operative as well, Gwafa Hazid, who served Nicol Bolas, the Elder Dragon Planeswalker, who had designs on the Shards of Alara, and using its upcoming convergence to regain his godlike powers. To do so, Bolas had operatives on all 5 shards. On Esper, the Shard of Artifice, whose primary mana was blue, supported by white and black, society was defined by purpose and the meticulous control of nature's chaos. Using the aether-infused filigree alloy known as Ethereum, the inhabitants of Esper sought beauty and perfection in all living things, best represented in legends like the philosopher queen Sharum or the Ethereum shaper Brea. It was here that Bolas's agent Tezzeret rose to prominence. Born in the lower levels of Vectis, Tezzeret would manipulate the Seekers of Karmat in service to the Elder Dragon's designs. Replacing white mana with its enemy color black, Grixis was a dying world where the few remaining pockets of magical life force were harvested as vis by mages like Kess, the Dissident Mage. The crumbling necropolises of this shard world were ruled by demons like Malfegor, who would trap planeswalkers for torture. Malfegor would also serve as Bolas's second-in-command on Alara, leading massive undead armies poised to invade the other shards. Bolas likewise guided Thraximundar, a brutal undead warrior who lived to leave destruction in his wake. But Thraximundar would find his brutality matched by the savage world of Jund, a wild plane of red mana supported by black and green. Jund was ruled by a brutal food chain with dragons at its apex, among them Broodmate Dragon and Karthus, Tyrant of Jund. Jund was also home to shamans who attracted elemental entities like Rakamar, who was lured by Bolas to inflame the other clans and stoke their bloodlust for greater prey found on neighboring shards like Grixis and Naya. Naya completed the 5 shards, a glorious tropical paradise of green mana supported by white and red, where enormous beasts called gargantuans roamed freely, and the elves, humans, and Nacatl, who inhabited the plane, believed themselves blessed by an enormous 5-headed hydra god known as Progenitus. Naya was home to the Nacatl, among them the revolutionary Marisi, who was influenced by Bolas to lead the wild Nacatl in revolt against the Cloud Empire, destroying much of their advanced civilization and regressing the nation to primal savagery. Bolas's plan to regain his godlike powers was ultimately thwarted by a Johnny, and thus we left the Shards of Alara after their conflux back into a singular plane. Shards of Alara was also notable for introducing the mythic card rarity. Until that set, the gold rare symbol was the highest tier found on cards. Shards of Alara introduced players to the vibrant crimson of mythic rarity. The new tier was designed to signal both narrative and mechanical weight. Found on cards like the mighty Godsire, the ever-protective Empirical Archangel, and the planar wanderer Sarkhan Vol. Mythic rarity was met with initial controversy, as many Magic the Gathering players were wary of an even more premium tier, especially if competitive staples were now locked behind lower pull rates, thus driving up their prices in the process. Alara has been brought up a lot recently by folks like Mark Rosewater, which to me is one signal that we will be returning there soon, but also, there really isn't that much left to return to. Having now gone back to planes like Kamigawa and Lorwyn, combined with the breakneck output of half a dozen or more Magic sets a year, none of them blocks, we've returned to just about everywhere else, save a few really old relics that, I don't think we're actually going to revisit Ugrotha anytime soon. Homelands 2? Baron Sangir's Revenge? I'd buy it, but no, Alara is the logical choice. It's deeply rooted in Magic's lore and history, a beloved and celebrated old plane with ties to some of Magic's most popular characters, like Elspeth, Tezzeret, and Nicol Bolas. Players align themselves with the rich shards of Alara, from Grixis to Bant and Esper, and I feel strongly that if there's any plane we are returning to next year, it's not Ravnica or Innistrad for the umpteenth time, it's Alara. What's my next prediction? Well, this year featured 4 out of 7 sets being universes beyond, and I think next year Wizards is going to try and downplay that by featuring a universe beyond set that is actually high or near high fantasy. Not just a Magic adjacent set in the way that Avatar or even Final Fantasy was, but I'm predicting a universe beyond set whose characters, lore, art, and setting could all easily be in-universe. The question is, which property? The biggest, most obvious big-name property would be Game of Thrones, which, if you think about it, is perfect as a Magic the Gathering set, in that the setting is high fantasy with a large cast of beloved and distinct characters, with still enough magical elements from zombies to dragons and everything in between to fill out the non-legendary parts of a potential set. And, as is often one of the most important things Magic the Gathering looks for in its partnerships, the hype around Game of Thrones ended years ago. So we'd be half a decade or so behind the cultural zeitgeist. See Walking Dead, Stranger Things, Avatar, and did they actually do Jaws? Yeah, they did. And the cards, how much? Anyway, if not Game of Thrones, I could see a high fantasy video game such as The Elder Scrolls or Elden Ring serving as a potential set. Again, both of these properties are more than just Magic adjacent. A setting like Tamriel could easily be a Magic the Gathering world. So by featuring one of these games, Wizards of the Coast could help deflect criticism of them doing too many Universes Beyond worlds by featuring a Universes Beyond world that could easily be universes within. Or we might see the inevitable return to a literal adjacent property with yet another Dungeons & Dragons set. This time maybe exploring a different setting. Maybe we will get Magic the Gathering Dungeons & Dragons Ravenloft, or Eberron, or Krynn, or one of my personal picks, Dark Sun. Remember Dark Sun? In this case, the age-old riddle would be asked. If Magic the Gathering does a Dungeons & Dragons world, is it even universes beyond? The answer, of course, is yes, but, barely. So I guess this was kind of a multi-property pick, but my actual guess is just that we will see a Universes Beyond property that is not just Magic adjacent, but is literally high fantasy, thus serving to symbolically negate the criticism of too much Universes Beyond. And speaking of Magic adjacent sets, my next prediction is very, very, very far from that. Hasbro adjacent, yes, but at least it's not set in New York. Where exactly is Angel Grove? Yeah, it's Power Rangers. Power Rangers is what I'm guessing next. You know they're gonna do it eventually, so why not next year? Power Rangers. The property already owned by Hasbro and constantly in need of a reboot so that boardroom executives could once again reach those high numbers of the 90s. I strongly suspect Power Rangers is a no-brainer setting for a Magic the Gathering set. If not next year, then some year, but soon. Keep in mind, Hasbro purchased Power Rangers for roughly $522 million. And, they gotta make that money back somehow, so why not Magic the Gathering? They own all the characters and the rights to merchandising, be it toys, games, or trading cards. What a perfect property to cross over with Magic the Gathering, one you already own. The show has nostalgia for a wide swath of Magic's player base, and with its enormous history and vast character library of both villains and heroes, seems the perfect fit for a Magic the Gathering set. They've even met the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before, so there's some built-in cross-brand synergy. Did I mention Hasbro owns Power Rangers, so no need to pay anyone but yourself for the licensing? And yes, it's going to be irritating as hell to have 6 different Red Ranger cards. Sorry, 30? There have been 30 different Red Rangers since 1993? Alright, at least they can all technically be different characters, though I'd expect most to keep their helmets on so as to avoid too many licensing fees with real-world actors. Though I imagine if the stories of terrible and exploitative contracts with said actors are true, maybe we do have a shot at seeing familiar faces like Jason, Kimberly, Zach, Trini, Billy, and Tommy. Yes, I damn well know who the original Power Rangers are. I'm from the 90s, baby. I watched the show when it aired, and I went to go see the first movie in theaters. Twice. I stopped watching around the time of Power Rangers Turbo when we had concluded with the destruction of King Mondo and the Machine Empire and were promised the return of Rita and Zed, who had previously been driving around in their RV on the moon, but were then given an out-of-nowhere bait-and-switch with Divatox in the Turbo movie, and then I completely stopped watching in disgust after that. Come on. They were supposed to take back over as the villains. I was done. And even with all of my 90s nostalgia and love for the villainous Rita and Zed, did you see the episode where they get reborn as humans and their voice actors played them? That was really cool, I gotta admit that, but I would still absolutely not really want to see Power Rangers as a magic set, but I know it's coming. They own the property, I mentioned that, I think, and it just makes too much sense. Just as I would hate another return to New York City with another Marvel set, I would kinda hate this, but I think that that's coming as well. Anyway, my next prediction is that we're doing another return to New York City with yet another Marvel set. What, you think we're gonna just go a whole year without a Marvel set? Not likely. Just thank Urza that we aren't doing 2 Marvel sets in the same year. I 100% believe we will be getting another Marvel set in 2027. The question really is, will it be focused on a single character like Spider-Man, or a broader swath of the Marvel universe like Marvel Heroes will be? My money is for a character-focused set, probably Fantastic Four or possibly the X-Men. This allows Wizards of the Coast to kind of have it both ways, as properties like X-Men have a wider range of legendaries that you can feature, as well as a rich storied history to present on cards. But either way, there is no doubt in my mind that we will see a Marvel set in 2027, and probably 2028. Marvel is, after all, part of a multi-year deal with Magic the Gathering because, well, they said so. And I don't think said deal was just for Spider-Man and Marvel Heroes and then nothing else. There's more coming. So much more Marvel. Hey, maybe we'll get a shawarma card to go with our bagels and hot dogs in the Avengers set. Remember when they ate shawarma at the end of that 10-year-old movie? Remember that? That should be a Magic card or whatever. Let's get back to Magic, shall we? My number 2 and number 1 predictions are both about in-universe sets, and coming in at number 2 is the in-universe set that Rosewater has already told us about, or at least hinted to us about. Only, which one was the real answer? For those unaware, Mark Rosewater maintains a blog where he answers tons of questions about Magic the Gathering, including many cool hints at things to come. Avid readers will know he discusses, albeit briefly, ideas that are possible settings for future Magic sets. Cowboy World was a longtime contender talked about on his blog, and interestingly enough was once considered as the theme of Jace's homeworld of Bryn, but that morphed sadly into Thunder Junction. So what other themes has Rosewater alluded to for future Magic planes? Well, there's a lot of them, but here are some of my top picks. A dark fantasy Magic the Gathering plane, not unlike Elden Ring or The Witcher, but not universes beyond. Oh, The Witcher, I could have included The Witcher earlier. I'd like to see this as a potential plane, but I don't know how well it fits in a lore already filled with settings like Eldraine and Shadowmoor. Another possibility is Dream World, which could take inspiration from anything from The Wizard of Oz to Sandman to even the art of Salvador Dali. Rosewater has said Dream World is on the short list, though I think it's much more likely that we'll see Bug World, which is also apparently on the short list, and given the popularity of characters like Grist the Hungertide, I can see why. Though given Rosewater also said that people were averse to Duskmourn's horror theme, maybe Bug World is not quite as likely as it seems. I'll have to recuse myself from Underwater World, as obviously anything with the possibility for a propensity of merfolk is high on my pick list. Though given Wizards of the Coast's track record, Waterworld here would be more like the movie Waterworld, and not necessarily the merfolk-heavy plane I've dreamt of. But my true top pick is Solarpunk World, which is also on the list. And honestly, I could really use Solarpunk World. For those unfamiliar, Solarpunk is an actual optimistic look at the future. Think of post-apocalyptic, but where everything worked out great. A world where technology and nature coexist, with an emphasis on things like renewable energy, community, and self-sustainment. Maybe Solarpunk isn't the logical choice, but it's definitely a setting that is my choice. Honestly, I could still see Vryn being our new world for 2027, though obviously it's not going to be Cowboy Plane. Oh my god, what if it's Solarpunk? Solarpunk Vryn? Vryn didn't really look solar punk the few times we saw it, but maybe Jace just lived in a bad neighborhood. But I am very hopeful for my number one prediction for next year because it centers on my favorite thing, villains, and my favorite magic one at that. No, not Urza. Well, Urza is kind of the number one magic villain, but I'm talking, of course, of Nicol Bolas. Nicol Bolas has been poised to return in the lore for some time, and if we do indeed return to Alara next year, a plane Bolas originally had designs on, that could all be part of a kind of multi-set block of lore that might very well culminate in my number one prediction, Bolas's Saga, the set. A set focused not on a plane so much as an individual character, a return of a character, the return of Bolas himself. For the longest time, Magic had three major villains or antagonists that were always lurking and plotting in the background. The Eldrazi, who were the focus of the original Zendikar block, and had been slowed but not stopped by its end. The Phyrexians, who won their conquest of Mirrodin, giving birth to new Phyrexia and with the ominous flavor text of suspecting there to be other worlds, and wanting to bring Phyrexia's perfection to them. How'd that work out for you, Elish Norn? And the eldest of the three, Nicol Bolas, a legendary villain who first appeared in the set Legends, the very first time legendary creatures were in Magic the Gathering. Bolas was a beloved villain from the start, an elder dragon whose most terrifying power was not his strength so much as his mind. As indeed Bolas's schemes spanned millennia, reaching across planes and even timelines, and, as we stated at the beginning of this video, reaching to reclaim his godlike powers once on Alara. Bolas was last prominently seen in the epic War of the Sparks set, where his plot to become an Old Walker god again manifested and was stopped at the last minute by Liliana. In a set many felt was to Magic the Gathering's story like Endgame was to Marvel's, but that is a different video. Bolas was banished to his own meditation plane, but having recently escaped, he is poised for a comeback. And while I think that comeback may actually begin in the upcoming Reality Fracture set, I predict it will actually span our return to Alara, our new plane of the year, and culminate in an epic Magic set focused on Bolas himself. I would think of this set as aiming to be what War of the Spark was in scope, and probably what Reality Fracture hopes to be, an epic standalone set that has a deep impact on the lore, but is not necessarily centered so much on exploring a specific plane as it is on exploring Magic lore. In this case, the lore of a character, the character of Bolas. Like I said, in some ways this could be a single-set version of Urza's Saga, only flipped to be focused on the villain. Rosewater has wanted to do a villain set for some time, from Magic Origins, which had to be retooled into a Hero's Origins story, to Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which, well, ended up being Outlaws at Thunder Junction. But an entire set focused on one of Magic's most beloved villains, documenting not his defeat, but his return to power and prominence in the Magic story, I think that has a lot of meat on its bones, as it were, and could be beloved by the player base. But these are, of course, just my predictions, and now I want to hear from you. What do you think is coming in 2027, both in terms of in-universe sets and those that are universes beyond? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already checked out our 100th episode of Shuffle Up and Play with Rhystic Studies, you can watch that episode by clicking the I, or of course linked in this video's description. And remember, Strixhaven Omens of Chaos is available in bookstores now, assuming bookstores still exist. Not a sponsor, just an amazing read that you should check out if you want to support Magic story and Magic lore and, physical media like books. Maybe pick up a copy. It comes with a free unique art command tower inside. It really is awesome. Check it out. Not a sponsor. Watch our 100th episode of Shuffle Up and Play with Rhystic Studies. That's not a sponsor either, 'cause it's me!
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
Class is in session. It's Shuffle Up and Play's Secrets of Strixhaven pre-release episode, What's Sus? Because secrets. Who opens up this box?
I need this! I am so tired of turtles you do not understand. I am going to lose it!
Look.
Oh, I got
Secrets.
Oh.
Secrets.
Is a returning mechanic in this set, and this is one of the most well-known
Secrets.
cards.
I will play.
Secrets.
It's a
Secrets.
that can.
I got secrets. I didn't realize it was in the special guest.
I didn't know either.
I got
Wait, there's
special guest.
Secrets.
That's so cool.
If you ever find yourself with a good prop and an evil prop, and they're saying, I'm the real prop, just ask them to count to 3.